Chapter 1. The Paths of Forgotten Time. It began on an evening when the forest seemed almost alive, its shadows thickening unnaturally as I wandered along a long abandoned road. The path, cracked with age and overrun by moss, wound between barren fields where the soil had begun reclaiming the traces of human toil. A dense fog slithered along the ground, creeping between the twisted trunks of ancient trees, and I felt the oppressive gaze of the woods as though the very forest were aware of my presence. Far in the distance, I discerned the shapes of a village, its outlines barely visible through the grey haze. The buildings were crude and worn, their timbers blackened and rotting, yet somehow they held the impression of centuries, as if they had been here before memory itself. The streets were empty. No smoke rose from chimneys. No voices whispered from behind shuttered windows. The air was heavy, with the pungent scent of decay and the faint, acrid tang of damp pine, and I realized, with a shiver, that I had wandered into a time not meant for those of my world. As I drew closer, I noticed that the village was not silent in the ordinary sense. The wind carried faint murmurs, words half heard and impossible to understand, weaving through the crooked houses like threads of some terrible language. I felt drawn forward by a mix of dread and curiosity, compelled to see what lay at the heart of this forsaken place. Chapter 2. Whispers of the Past. The village revealed itself gradually as I explored its narrow lanes. Each house bore the marks of long abandonment, splintered doors, broken windows, and stones worn smooth by centuries of rain. There was a certain grotesque beauty to it, a sense that everything had once been alive, but was now suspended in a liminal state between life and decay. In the center of the village rose an ancient well, its stones etched with indecipherable symbols. I had seen similar markings in old manuscripts, but these were far older than any history I had ever known. When I peered into the darkness of the well, it seemed bottomless, and a faint, echoing sound reached me from below. A whisper that was not a whisper, a voice that was not human, yet somehow it seemed to call to me, urging me to look deeper. The more I explored, the more I became aware of subtle movements, shapes just beyond the edge of vision. Shadows stretched and twisted in ways that defied the geometry of the village, and I felt certain that unseen eyes were tracking my every step. The forest beyond the village was alive in a way I could not comprehend, its branches moving with a purpose, its shadows lengthening and contracting as if the woods themselves were sentient. Chapter 3. The Labyrinth of Shadows. Night fell abruptly, and the village dissolved into a thick, impenetrable fog. The road I had followed vanished, and the houses seemed to shift and contort as if the world itself were warping around me. Trees grew impossibly tall, their roots forming tangled mazes that threatened to entrap me. Each step became uncertain, for the landscape no longer obeyed any natural logic. Figures emerged from the darkness, not human, yet not entirely alien either. They glided silently between the trees, their presence pressing on my mind like a heavy weight. Sometimes they would vanish at the edge of the fog, leaving only the sense of their unseen eyes upon me. It was as if the village, the forest, and the night were all part of one vast organism, a single consciousness that regarded me with both curiosity and malice. I stumbled upon a small clearing, where the fog thinned just enough for me to glimpse the twisted silhouettes of structures long consumed by the forest. They were remnants of dwellings, shrines, and altars, their purpose forgotten, yet they exuded a palpable aura of dread. The shadows seemed to breathe around me, alive with memories not my own, whispering secrets in a tongue older than human speech. Chapter 4: The Phantom Lights. Deep within the forest, I discovered a lake whose waters were unnaturally black, reflecting not the sky above, but something else entirely. Strange lights hovered over its surface, tiny orbs that flickered like distant stars, but in patterns that defied any earthly logic. They moved with intention, weaving designs in the air, drawing me closer with an irresistible, hypnotic pull. As I approached, the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy. The lights seemed to respond to my presence, shifting in complex geometries, forming shapes that suggested unknown constellations and impossible architectures. For a brief, terrifying moment, I felt the sensation of looking into eternity itself, a vision so vast and alien that it threatened to shatter my mind. The lake became a mirror, not of my reflection, but of something far older, a reality parallel yet intertwined with my own, where time had no dominion, and space bent to the will of forces beyond comprehension. Chapter 5: Return, or its illusion. At last, the first rays of dawn broke through the mist, and the forest, village, and lake vanished as if they had never existed. I found myself once more on a familiar road, amidst ordinary fields, the sun illuminating a world that seemed mundane by contrast. Yet the experience lingered within me, a memory etched deep into my consciousness. I realized that my journey had not been through space, but through something far more profound, a layer of reality overlaid upon our own, where ancient forgotten powers moved in secret, indifferent to human presence. The village, the forest, the phantom lights, they had left their mark upon me. Even now, long after my return, I hear the faint whispers in the wind and see the glimmering lights in the shadows, a reminder that I glimpsed a realm not meant for the minds of men. And sometimes, when night falls and the fog creeps low across the fields, I sense that the forest waits, patient and eternal, for the next traveler to wander its forgotten paths.